What if the most powerful man in the world didn't want power at all? He sat on the Roman throne, but he wrote to himself like a monk. Don't waste what's left of your life. That's what he told himself, not to impress others, but to remember what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he was more afraid of losing his soul than losing a war. In a world of noise, he pursued silence. In a world of conquest, he sought self-mastery. This isn't just ancient history. It's a roadmap for anyone trying to stay grounded in a world that pulls you in every direction. He wasn't born into power. He was adopted into it, but molded by philosophy. Adopted by Emperor Antoninus Pius at just 17. Trained not in excess, but in ethics. Not in luxury, but in restraint. While other young nobles chased pleasure, Marcus chased meaning. He read Epictetus, he studied Socrates, and he practiced writing, not to show off, but to sharpen his soul. Junius Rusticus, his Stoic mentor, didn't teach him how to rule a kingdom. He taught him how to rule himself. Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Before Marcus ever wore the purple robe, he wore the invisible armor of philosophy. And when power finally came, he didn't celebrate. He braced himself. Because real power, he knew, doesn't lift your ego. It tests your soul. The empire was cracking. Plagues, wars, betrayals, rebellions from men he once called brothers. While others might curse fate, Marcus picked up his pen. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He knew he couldn't control the storms, only his sails. He didn't whine, he didn't rage, he wrote. Each morning, while the empire burned, he poured his soul onto parchment, not for anyone else to read, but to stay anchored, to remind himself virtue is the only wealth that can't be stolen. Even in crisis, he didn't rule with cruelty. He ruled with clarity. When his general Cassius rebelled, Marcus had the power to crush him. Instead, he offered forgiveness, because strength to Marcus was never about domination. It was about restraint. He wore the crown, yes, but inside, he remained a student, a man who ruled not from a throne of pride, but from a place of purpose. What do you do when you're emperor of the world, but feel completely alone? You write to yourself. In cold army tents, under fading candlelight, Marcus Aurelius scribbled reminders, not for glory, but for grounding. Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. He wasn't preaching, he was practicing. The Meditations wasn't a book. It was a mirror, a lifeline, a whispered conversation with his better self. He reminded himself to accept loss, to endure pain, to welcome death as part of nature. He wrestled with anger. He questioned pride. He spoke not to impress, but to instruct his flaws in silence. This was Stoicism, not as theory, but as survival. And in these pages, he left us a map not to conquer the world, but to conquer ourselves. Because while Marcus ruled Rome, his greatest achievement was ruling his own mind. Today, we chase notifications like emperors once chased empires. Fame, fortune, followers, the new Roman conquest. But Marcus Aurelius whispers across time, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." He didn't write about politics or campaigns. He wrote about anger, about pride, about how hard it is to stay good in a messy world. He didn't tell others what to do. He asked himself, am I wasting time? Am I living by my values? Am I still kind, even when the world isn't? And isn't that the battle we're all fighting now? In a world where image is everything, Marcus teaches us substance. In a time of performance, he practiced presence. He shows us, you don't need a stage to live with purpose. You just need a mirror and the courage to look into it. Because what he battled with is exactly what we wrestle with now. Centuries have passed, empires have risen and fallen. But his words still whisper through time. Marcus Aurelius is long gone. But his mind, his soul, is still here. In every journal cracked open at dawn, in every breath taken instead of an outburst. In every choice to pause, reflect, endure. He never wanted to be remembered. He wanted to live rightly. But that's why we remember him. Because in a world obsessed with doing, he mastered being, not for his victories on the battlefield, but for the battles he fought within, not for wealth or marble statues, but for the quiet strength of a man who asked himself daily, am I doing what I was made for? He didn't seek fame, he sought virtue, and in that pursuit, he became immortal. Marcus Aurelius didn't set out to be a legend, he set out to be a good man. No speeches carved into marble, no statues ordered in his name, just a diary, just a man, facing his demons with a pen instead of a sword. You have power over your mind, not outside events. In a world addicted to reaction, he practiced reflection. In a world obsessed with leaving a mark, he was more concerned with leaving a clear conscience. He reminds us that the hardest empire to rule is not Rome. It's the one within, the impulses, the fears, the noise. He didn't always succeed, but he always returned to the page, to the practice, to the path. That's why he still speaks to us, not from a throne, but from the quiet pages of a journal. Let each of us build an empire, not outside but within. So when the world tempts you to chase fame, to prove your worth with noise, to win battles no one asked you to fight, remember Marcus? And remember, sometimes the brightest flame makes the least sound.